Second myth we got to shoot down. The government can't stop the change, and it already has, despite all the campaign promises of bringing back all these old jobs, isn't going to happen. 1/3 of all jobs, and this is a pretty high estimate realistically, it runs anywhere between 5% to about 38% of all jobs will be eliminated. The statistic that is much more powerful, and everybody in this room has to be wary of it, is that at least 60% of all jobs will be 1/3 automated. There are different functions that we used to do by hand that are now being done by software. The anticipation with artificial intelligence, machine learning, with drones, all our work is being modified. Even as a consultant, a lot of what I do is being modified. And that's creating these job skill shortages. There are enough people to do the jobs, but as you well know, there aren't enough people that have the skills that are applying for the jobs. And that is only going to increase and exacerbate. And the third thing that I want to emphasize before we really dive in, and I'm spending a little time on this background, is only because this is the world we live in. It's sort of the reality check to say, here's the world in which you're recruiting, is that the future isn't coming, it's already here. We're talking about drones, we're talking about robots. Look no further than healthcare, of some of the advances that are being done now. 3D printing, what are some of the parts that you now install or that you deliver that are going to be 3D printed on site when you need them. And it's remarkable, and if they can 3D print a heart vessel or a blood vessel or a kidney or a lung, they certainly can produce building materials. And the aspect that everyone overlooks, it's like, oh, we've seen the change before, or change is happening faster. Change is happening 10 times faster and 300 times the scale than it did just a few years ago. The impact is not the change that we're experiencing now, but the speed at which the change is occurring. And the world between science fiction and reality is just blurring. We're not able to discern that, and as machine learning hops on, and for those who don't know what machine learning is, when it's talking to Siri, it's talking, basically it's talking to Alexa. And as the more you speak to it and the more questions you ask, it starts to learn patterns and it starts to anticipate. It's basically artificial intelligence learning. It's that automation, that robot learning your patterns. And they're becoming much, much smarter. Where this is really going to take off, and I'm not going to go into what quantum computers are, but think about the advances that you've had on your desktop, your mobile phones, over the last few years. Think about what happens when the speed of processing, and this is not hyperbole, this is not something that's way out there, and we're talking, oh, this is going to be the 22nd century. We're talking maybe the end of this decade, early next decade. Quantum computing will process information 100 million times faster than it does today.